Adam, thank you very much. Of course, we're pleased to welcome back Senator Ron Wyden. Senator, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk first about why you're in town, this recreation bill you're sponsoring. What does that do for Southern Oregonians?
What it does is it cuts a lot of red tape so that folks in Southern Oregon will have an inside track to being able to get outside and enjoy the great outdoors. As you know, I made the tour of the Seven Wonders, and I was amazed at how much red tape and bureaucracy held us back. For example, we were hearing about people waiting in line at 6 a.m. to get a permit to go on the road, and they just wait and wait. So the point is, Oregon has an outdoors advantage, and this is a big, big boost to our economy. You know, we've got folks making canoes and kayaks and bicycles. There's an enormous interest, and we've got enough people employed in recreation to essentially fill Autzen and Reeser. And what this legislation does is it just takes a big pair of scissors out, and we cut the red tape so people can get outdoors.
Okay, so unfortunately I have to ask you about terrorism, of course, with this happening this week. As a U.S. Senator, you're privy to certain security information regarding the country. After the Brussels attack, should our viewers be at all concerned about their safety here traveling in the country?
Here's the big challenge. It seems to me that Europe is pretty much where we were before 9/11. There's just not enough information sharing, and there is an important American foreign policy here. The focus on ISIS has primarily been in Iraq and Syria, and what we have seen most recently is ISIS and terrorists essentially use Europe as a backyard. So I think what we really need now is particularly to boost information sharing between the United States and Europe, and I also think we need to make sure that we have responsible approaches in terms of granting visas. Visas used to have a face-to-face meeting with someone who was trying to come into the country. We need tighter controls there.
Any concerns here at home?
Certainly those two areas that I mentioned, and suffice it to say I sit on the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. I can't get into anything classified, but better information sharing and strengthening the visa process would be at the top of my list.
Okay, very good. We're going to take a quick break. We'll have much more in a moment. Stay with us.
3 weeks.
Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with Senator Ron Wyden. Senate Republicans insist they will not be holding any hearings for the president's Supreme Court nominee, Merrick Garland. Are you getting involved in this at all?
Of course. Every senator has a clear responsibility. The Founding Fathers envisioned that every senator would be involved. In effect, the president would appoint, and Congress, the Senate, would exercise its advise and consent responsibilities. And I think you have to do that whether it is a Democratic president or a Republican president, because fundamentally it's about doing your job.
Okay. Last week we had State Senator Dr. Alan Bates here in the 5 on 5. We talked about some incredibly pricey yet very amazing hepatitis C medication. He said that the problem was the federal government isn't controlling the price. This is like $60,000, $80,000 medicine. Is that something that we can do, change in the Senate and Congress?
I spent 18 months doing a bipartisan investigation with Senator Grassley, the Republican senator from Iowa. And what we found was just stunning. For example, the traditional argument for why these drugs have to have such an astounding price is research and development costs. That's what the company says. We reviewed essentially 20,000 documents, and research and development was barely mentioned. The whole point was to jack the price up as high as you possibly could so it could be a pricing platform for yet another drug. Now, there is a product coming out, the press reporting is from Merck, but it's still way over $50,000. So there are a couple of things we have to do. First, it's time to lift the restriction on Medicare so Medicare can bargain to hold down the cost of medicine. Second, we have to have disclosure of rebates. The companies always say, well, people aren't paying these very large prices. I think we ought to have some disclosure of the rebates. And I will tell you, I raised this particularly in the context of the Oregon Health Sciences Center, because they are going to have some spectacular opportunities in terms of curing cancers. And because of the Phil Knight Challenge grant, the $1 billion. And I said, look, we are approaching, based on our investigation of hepatitis C, where we have a cure. We are going to have cures in America, and the question is, are people going to be able to afford to get them?
Okay, so you, in regards to the fight between the Apple and the FBI, you promised to use every procedural tool in the Senate to protect encryption security. Why is that?
Strong encryption is absolutely essential for the safety, security, and well-being of thousands and thousands of families in our state. And the reality is, in a smartphone, people have their lives wrapped up in it. They have their financial records, often their health records, and strong encryption is what protects them. For example, a lot of the smartphones have a location tracker, and parents can use that to keep track of their kids. You weaken strong encryption, it's almost an invitation to pedophiles.
All right, very good, Senator. Good to see you.
Thank
Thanks very
you.
much. Appreciate it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.